Hey, and I'm live. So, welcome. This is Crazy Fabrications. I'm Chris, and this is the live stream of me trying to get this thing to print for the first time. As you can tell, I'm going to be probably behind it most of the time. It's a pretty big printer. If you're new here, this is a printer that I've designed. I've called it the Cosplay 600 because I specifically designed it for printing large cosplay objects. The bed is 600 by 400, roughly, depending on a little bit for allowances of some of the printed parts. And so I've been working on this probably for about 5 months now, at least 5 or 6 months. And finally got all the pieces together, all the parts printed, everything working together. Finished up the wiring on it, I guess this week. And I've done some just mechanical testing, making sure everything actually works. I've got all the software loaded, the bed leveling, made sure that that is in place, and made sure, of course, these beds heat up. And so what I want to do, let's see. Like I said, I know I'm going to be somewhat visible through some of this due to the fact that the printer is in the way. And I apologize for not looking at the camera the whole time, but my screen is over here. So anyway, so what I probably want to do, I want to make sure I've only got an hour and a half tonight. I have not printed on this yet, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. Hopefully everything will go well. I'm a little worried about getting the height just right and the bed level. Because this bed, given its size, we have to use the BL Touch for bed leveling. I've set it to as many probe points as I can fit in EEPROM, and so that should work. I may have to adjust the height and firmware a little bit, the offset height, but hopefully that'll work. I'll be printing tonight with US monofilaments. They've got a burgundy here. I like their filament because it sticks really well to the bed, so I wanted one less thing to worry about this evening. And if all else fails, getting it to adhere the way I want it to, then I will probably put some 3D gloop down, and we'll go from there. And I'm going to try to keep up with the chat. Keep in mind that I think I'm on about a 10-second delay at least. So you're going to be hearing this about 10 seconds after I say it. So I'll try to keep up with the chat. So I need some ideas. So for anyone in the chat, we got about, looks like at least 4 people in the chat right now. If you have any ideas about what the first print should be, let me know, because I need to slice something for this. I haven't even picked a model yet. If I don't get any suggestions, then I'll just pick something out of my folder. Who knows, we may start with a cube or something simple. And then if we have time to do more than one thing, we'll go to that. So I guess we'll start there. And while this is going to take a few minutes for the bed to heat, currently I have this on a 12-volt power supplies due to the fact that that was the easiest thing for me to get working, and those were the first beds that I got. So these are, I've got 4 200 by 300 beds. That's what makes up the large print surface. And that is, all these heat beds were from Ziltech, and as well as the extrusions and some of the linear rails that are on the y-axis. Those are all from Ziltech. Was working with them getting these heat beds working on 24 volt, which was the original plan. After a lot of back and forth and them helping me debug, I was able to find out that what happened is they have some new beds that do support 24 volt. They sent those over to me, and so sooner or later, whenever I get the urge to replace all this wiring on some new beds, I will switch this over to a 24 volt system. Everything should work just fine. Everything's running on 12 volt. I've got 12 volt fans and 12 volt hot end. It just is going to take the beds a little bit longer to heat up. Usually start with Marvin. With a Marvin? What is a Marvin? You mean Marlin? Let me know, Robert. Anyway, see some more people joining. If again, if you've got an idea for a first print, something off of Thingiverse, a standard, starter model, that'll be fine, or something more complicated. Preferably nothing, huge, because I make sure that it actually is going to lay down and we'll get a little bit of printing before I have to shut down the stream for tonight. So, oh, Marvin. Oh, yeah. The, let me see. Gotcha. Let me see if I can find the Marvin. I don't think I have that one downloaded right now, but that is a good small model, which shows some detail. Which one's the original Marvin? You always have that problem when you're looking for something on Thingiverse. Let's see. Is it the 3D Hubs keychain? Let me see. Oh, there's a Marvin Advanced. Sounds like craziness. Let me see. Most popular, yeah, it looks like the Marvin keychain is the original. Thing files, STL. Well, Robert, since you came up with the only solution so far, I'm going to download that one first. And let me download it to my 3D files folder. Okay. And let me see if I can get a good shot of my screen. And there may be a little transition artifact here as I switch over, but I want to show you the Cura profile and the slicing. So let me go ahead and try to switch over the display. Excuse the OSD transition here. All right. So that should switch over. We will go ahead and do Robert's recommendation of starting with a Marvin. Oh, I didn't check what that was called. Let's see, what was it? 2014-02. That's going to be up at the top. There we go. That looks really small on this bed. So, let's see, how big is he? Not very big. Why don't we upscale him? Let's make a big Marvin. Let's see, what if we do 200%? How big does that make him? He's got a lot of facets there. But at least that looks a little bit better. Alright, so this is my... Let's see, I haven't made a filament profile for him yet. I'm going to do this one, which was for another custom printer I made. I want to keep all of that. Again, thanks for joining me. I noticed I got a few new viewers, so if you're watching, please join us in the chat, say hi, and I'm just going to continue with this first test print. Also, again, as it heats up, I'm going to be answering questions, maybe take you on a little tour of the high points of the printer. So we can do that once it gets going. So I got this Marvin. I've scaled him up 200%. Let's see, we'll do a standard 0.2 layer height. I always do a right nozzle size, 1.2 wall thickness. Top bottom thickness, we'll do 4. Actually, I want to turn that down just for this print because it'll be more interesting this way. Let's see, 10% infill should work. 210 print temperature should be fine. I'm going to do the initial layer to 70. Flow, let's just do 100%. It may not be the prettiest print, but I don't think we're going for beauty on the first one out of the gate. I'm going to do 80 as the print speed because I want to see if this can do it. But I'm going to go real slow on the first print, the first layer. Let's do 25. Hey Pygar, good to see you again. Pygar's been here for some of my other live streams. or maybe all of the other live streams. Let's see. I'm going to turn down this print acceleration to 1,000. Jerk 6 is pretty low. Let's do 10. Let's watch the travel jerk too. I don't want to, given the mass of the print bed, I don't want to go crazy. I don't think Z-hop will be necessary. Print cooling. I'm going to turn down the cooling a little bit, mainly just because this is a stream and I don't want it to be too loud. Let's see. All right, let's go with that. Put that somewhere I won't knock it over. Do a prepare. All right. I think I just remembered one setting I need to change. Do manage printers. Machine settings. So here are the Marlin settings I've got right now. So my current X width is 550. That's due to the fact that due to the X carriage size, it can't do the full width. It can do a little bit more than 550, but that was just for safety. Oh, thanks for noticing that. That would have definitely been a problem. I'll turn that off in just a minute. I was going to look at my layer, so that would have been apparent there, but I appreciate you catching that. I've got 420S, which is going to turn on, you know what, for this print, I'm going to go ahead and do, well, let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and change this 420S, which is normally for turning on bed leveling, but I actually want it to level the first full time. So I'm going to put a G29 there, which is the auto bed leveling. Let's see. Everything else looks correct. And close that. There's a setting somewhere in here that tells it to auto start once it's heated. I wanted to turn that off because currently I've got this connected to Octoprint. Maybe that's in here. There it is. I do not want it to automatically start the job. So let's reconnect. Okay. So again, this is connected to Octoprint. I will show you the housing that I've got set up here in a minute and go over the electronics that are in it. And that's part I haven't been able to show on a chat yet. But again, we'll prepare this, not with that. Yeah, turn that off. No, it's not going to print in 24 minutes. There are 51 minutes. Which means we might be able to get this done in a live stream. All right. Switch to layer view. Make sure it looks right. All right. So I think that's what we want, as long as that's enough infill to not lose details. I don't know if that's, those first layers are not going to do well. We need to do a little bit more infill. See if 20% is enough. Thanks for joining us, Oyster. Again, thanks for catching that for me. I think 20% will be good enough. Okay. And I'm actually debating whether to turn on a brim as well, just to help with the bed adhesion. I don't want it to fall off the bed part of the way through because it drags or something. Let's see. Turn on the brim. All right. So that will also let me know if the bed's level. I'm going to print with the Octoprint. Let's send it over. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my web browser here. And here's the Octoprint instance. And I'm going to use, I've got a mod installed that lets me do a preheat button. And this basically means I can get the whole printer ready before I ever actually have it start doing anything. So I'm going to preheat the printer. That's going to bring these quad beds up to 70 degrees Celsius, the hot end to 210, and it'll hold it there until I hit go or hit the print button here. Currently I've got 4 thermistors actually hooked up, 1 to each bed, but only one of those is currently hooked up to the main board. Let me pull this back a little bit. But I have been doing some tests, and I can verify that they do heat up at about the same speed. They are, after all, the same make, model, and wiring on the heat beds, and they're all connected to the glass together. So I haven't had a problem with uneven heating right now. If it is, it's only off by 3 or 4 degrees, which shouldn't be a big deal. So anyway, so let's talk about the printer a little bit while it heats up. And if you haven't seen the other live streams that I've done, then we can go over it. So currently this is 400 by 600, a little bit bigger than that, like 628 by 428. It's got dual power supplies to power the beds. That's 2 beds per power supply. These are currently 360 watt 12 volts. I'm going to be replacing those with 500 watt 24 volts and replacing the beds with 24 volt beds. I have 16 millimeter rails on the y-axis, and I'm going to forget exactly what size these linear rails are on the X, but I'm going to publish a bill of materials on this later for people to take a look at. So these are all, I think almost all of the rails on here, or excuse me, the extrusions are 700 millimeter extrusions. I think in most of the connections I have corner brackets as well as an L bracket on the inside. Shouldn't have salmon skins on this one. I'll talk about the electronics in a minute. And there goes the fans. So that's going to start heating up now. Where are we at? It's already at 38 degrees. Yep, this side's got about 40 degrees. This side's about 40 degrees. Yeah, so it's heating up evenly. All of the plastic components are, I believe, 100% modeled by me. They may be based upon other printer designs. I know the AM8 was a big influence. And so something like the power supply mount, I think, was influenced by the AM8 design that you can find on Thingiverse. But a lot of the components are completely from scratch. These corner brackets, which go all the way around, connect this whole corner together. And I've got an electronics enclosure that I can show you over here. All of these were modeled because, of course, they have to take in the linear rails. For now, I have no additional supports on the back of these. I didn't run any extrusions on the back of these because these are really, if you've never held one of these linear rails, they're very stiff all by themselves. And given the fact there's no weight on this, I wasn't too worried about it. Let's see what else. Again, most of the components, the linear motion, the extrusions, power supplies, I think I purchased all of those at Ziltech because they had the best prices on extrusion I could find, and as well as the Y rails. The you know, a lot of the other components, fans, stepper motors, I bought most of those off of Amazon. The initial design you're seeing here is with dual Y belts, but my hope is that I'll be replacing those Y belts with a 1610 ball screw, which should have a lot more torque, and I believe should get me higher speeds. I'm going to initially try them off of a standard NEMA 17, but I'll go up to a NEMA 23 if I need to. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, it's about 6 months worth of design and buying parts and getting everything set up in one piece. So we should be about at temperature. We're about at 55 degrees now. At 24 volts, these will probably heat up probably about 30% faster at least, maybe 50% faster. End stops. So I've got the end stops. They're actually built into the rails that they're actually monitoring. So I've got the X end stop attached to my X gantry here. I actually have a max end stop on the Y rail, and that was because I've got the motors on the back end, and because these Y rails don't go all the way back to the back, so there was no way to mount it. But no problem there. Let's see. Currently, I'm running this off of an MKS Gen. Let me switch over real quick, and I will show you the electronics. All right. Now, keep in mind this is just a webcam, and so you may not have the best resolution, 720p. So this is an MKS Gen V 1.4 motherboard or mainboard. I've used this on a lot of printers, and so I know a lot about setting it up. Here we go. You got it? Plague, are you still getting me? I'm seeing the stream. So on these, I actually have a mix of stepper drivers. I've got a let's see, these are, I'm going to remember the name on these. I've got the TMC 2130s, the 2208 on the Y, and then these are just the A49, whatever they are. And I really like them because they have a lot of power, and so they work well where you need a lot of torque and you don't have a lot of motion that's going to be noisy. As you can see, A4988. Thank you, Robert. So I've got the Raspberry Pi on this side connected via USB cable, and so that's running Octoprint. And then I have independent, 4 independent, I'm going to draw a blank because I'm live, MOSFETs, 4 independent MOSFETs for each of the beds. So, and let me see if I can show you this as well while we're on this side. So this is my extruder. I actually have designed a custom filament runout sensor for this extruder. I have it wired, but I currently don't have the plug-in installed because that wasn't important for tonight, and I sure didn't want that to stop us. So hopefully everything is working now. I'm seeing the stream. Hopefully you guys are too. Let me know if you're still having any connection issues. Let me see. What else is there? So I'm about up to temperature. If you have any other questions about anything else, I've been looking at this printer for quite some time now, so if there's any questions you have that I didn't answer about its construction, let me know. And we are at temp now, so time to load up some filament. And I'm probably going to adjust the camera, so I want you to get a good view of this. Not promising any magical first layers on this first print. So, as you can see, I'm using the Capricorn tubing because I have such a long run here. I didn't want any extra slop in the tube. Hey, there we go. So that part is working just fine. Let me change the camera angle at this point. I'm not so much worried about you guys seeing me as I am you guys getting a good shot of the printer. So excuse me as I move the primary camera. Alright, hopefully that's a good enough shot. Yeah, that is a long tube. I think that tube is almost a full meter. Depending on how bad I have issues with stringing or something like that, I've thought about moving some of the wiring as well as the extruder itself to the top of the printer, which would make that a lot shorter. But again, this was the easiest setup for the first print. Let me grab this filament. Now, before this print, or before the stream, I made sure that before the stream, I made sure I washed this glass plate fully, this mirror. So hopefully I won't have any adhesion issues. I'm going to definitely have to have up my control so that I can change the Z offset a bit. But I'm actually going to do a manual home real quick to see how it does before I let it just take off. Hopefully the center is relative. Well, the center will be straight. So let's go ahead and just do an auto home. You see that it actually does run. What kind of extruder setup do I have? Maybe you guys didn't see that earlier when I showed you. It is a pretty inexpensive extruder at this point. At this point, the extruder is just a regular NEMA 17 stepper on a inexpensive gold-plated aluminum extruder. I actually have the mount is a custom designed mount that I designed. And I do have an attachment in there that is for to make sure that I can print flexible filaments. So again, we got some extruder ooze here. I don't want it to get stuck too much. So let's go ahead and go to 0 and see if that is flat for us. If not, we can make adjustments from there. Did you mean the extruder or the hot end? When I think extruder, I think the motor that actually pushes the extrusion. Grab a piece of paper. Okay, that is definitely too close. So if that's too close, let me go in. I'm going to go in and adjust the probe Z offset. This is a slow process, but it is moving my Z-axis as I do this, and now you can see I can move my paper pretty good. I'll take it back down a little bit. Okay. That's Steve, I appreciate the question. Yeah, that's actually a very good point, and I've actually been thinking about doing that. Given how rigid the x-axis is, I'm not as worried about the motion, and we already know that the y is heavy. So I have thought about getting a higher end direct drive extruder for this printer, but this is what I had available, so that's what's on here. A lot of the parts are from old printers. So I like that level. I'm going to go in here and that should be good. So what I'm going to do now, let's see. Let's go ahead and press print. The first thing we should see is it should do a multi-point bed leveling before it even starts. So it's going to do a G28 first. And then it will do a G29. Get my filament off here if I can, but it's not going to let me. I'm not really worried about that at this point. It's looking good. Alright, I forgot exactly what I put on this. I think it's going to probe something like 8 times on the X and 6 times on the Y. It's got quite a few probe points. Yeah, Steve, I've thought the same thing. I thought about buying a higher end extruder and just make it a direct drive, because I do think that those X linear rails that I have can support it without any problems. I'm not running Marlin 2.0 yet. This is 1.9. This is the latest one. So this is the latest stable 1.9.8. Is that right? And I've been configuring it. And I plan on trying 2.0, but I wasn't sure if there was much of a point unless I went with a 32-bit board. Yeah, 1.1.9, thank you. Yeah, so I'm running 1.1.9 on here. Got my ANET back there. I'm still running 1.1.8 on. I'm not having any problems. I was thinking about doing 2.0. Yeah, I think you're right, Steve. I've also got a plugin on here that will tell me, that would constantly update the amount of time that's going to be left on this print. Steve, do you have a favorite extruder, direct drive or otherwise, that you recommend? I like, it's funny, I was talking to Chuck Hellebach on Twitter earlier, and we were talking about automatic bed leveling. And so I'm a big fan of automatic bed leveling when it comes to large beds like this. But I really actually don't like automatic bed leveling on smaller beds. Because number one, I don't think it's needed. And number two, I think if you realize how automatic bed leveling works, that it actually is compensating for an unlevel bed, not actually making your prints level. I don't think it's as good of a solution. Yeah, the Bondtech is what I was looking at as well. Particularly their direct drive. And I don't think they're particularly too heavy compared to some of the other solutions. And but this entire X gantry is one that I designed. I definitely wanted dual fans because I've had a problem, particularly with things that have overhangs, with uneven printing, where you'll get one side that looks great and one side that is all messed up because it didn't have cooling. But again, the gantry, the carriage itself I designed, it had to support the belt, it had to support the dual linear rails. It is a V6 clone. I plan on buying a authentic V6 for it in the future, because I am finding I really like the authentic parts from them. They've got really well machined parts. So what I'm hoping is that as long as I leave this on the same surface and there's no jostling of this printer, I don't think I'll have to do a G29 every time. It should be able to store it in EEPROM, and I'm hoping those stay relatively flat, particularly if not much about the printer changes. You know, I think for maybe the first dozen prints or so, there's going to be settling, and some of the metal's going to work its way into how it's going to heat and contract and expand, but that should settle in. Yeah, you know, I thought about modding another printer, because obviously there are plenty of printer designs that you could mod. I mean, there's even talk about modding the Ender 5, which is currently my favorite printer. Just putting longer extrusions on it, and you could. There's no reason you couldn't. But there was something, you know, I think really interesting to me about designing a new printer. Again, it's an i3 design. Obviously, I didn't reinvent the wheel here. But I did do some things differently than I've seen before. And I am a big fan of some of my 3D design, particularly on some of the mounting brackets. These motor mounts are really secure. I think you should be able to see them in the back here. If not, I'll get some close-ups in a minute. But they are supported on both sides of the rail, which should prevent a lot of backlash on these motors. Because I noticed with 3D printed mounts, a lot of the times that you'll get a lot of swaying in that motor, and I don't know if people notice that or if they're not worried about it, but it really bothered me. But being supported from both sides, it should be stronger. Now I can switch over real quick. Just noticed that my counter here, my YouTube counter, doesn't appear to be right, because my YouTube chat says there are more people here than 3. So now let's get over here and see if it'll reach. So here are the mounts I was talking about. Again, you'll notice they're supported on this side, and there's another mount that goes on the other side, and then they're bolted together before you attach the motor, which keeps it from swaying forward and backward as that torque is applied to that motor. Again, this is the electronics enclosure I designed. I had designed this for the ANET to hold the MKS board, and this is mounted directly to this. This will not be here in the long run. I'll probably move it to the top of the printer, but it really depends on where the printer ends up living. For here, it's obviously perfect because I can monitor it while I am doing the live stream. But yeah, I thought about the Zeltec one as well, that kit. I also have been looking at Folgertech's kit, which looks really nice. They have a large printer as well. So I'm going to take off that YouTube counter because it is not working correctly. Just go right here. Let's see. Let's just turn that off. Well, let me say welcome again to everyone that has joined me. And I appreciate you tuning in. Well, only 9 likes though, but heck, if I'm sitting here without any dislikes, and that's not an invitation for people to go dislike it, but I still think I'm doing pretty good. It's not a challenge. I think my wife from the other room might dislike it just because I said something. Here it goes. Let's see how it does. Oh my goodness. It's very small, but it is printing. So, wow, look at that. Okay, I'm going to get you closer because I don't think you're seeing it as good as I am. And since it is a small model, even at 200%, this should get you the entire model. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to get you lower. No, probably can a little bit. Let's see if this works. Excuse me for messing around with the feed. But again, this is a stream to see the live print. So as you can see, it is sticking. So that was my biggest fear, is just getting the bed leveling right to begin with. I have to say this this live stream has gotten a lot of attention, I think, from people that have seen the printer, the Facebook groups or Twitter, and so I've gotten actually quite a few new subs today. So if you're a new sub to the channel and you're joining me, I appreciate it. I'm obviously going to be talking more about this printer as I get ready to release the plans and all the 3D printed parts on Thingiverse. And this is going down well. Yeah, I was talking to Zeltech earlier. I am an affiliate of theirs, and so I work with them some. Again, all the printer parts for this I bought well before that. But I was talking to them earlier, and they're sending me some new filament colors to try out, and I'll share that with you probably in a project form rather than just as a direct review. And then they were kind enough to share my stream. Still want you guys to get a better view than that. So what I'm going to do, let me see what I can do. Alright, the fan's just cut on for me. You guys, I guess, will hear it about the same time. Let me see what I can do. Well, if you go full screen on this, I think you can see it pretty well. But oh, I switched over on you. I didn't mean to do that. Let's do this. Thanks everyone, RC. Appreciate that. And it's working pretty well here. Let's see if I can get a close-up shot. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to temporarily switch over to the other camera. And then I'll switch over to the high-res one. Alright, I think I've got a really good shot. It may need some more lighting, but check that out. There we go. Hard for me to tell exactly where you guys are in the stream. I think people may be at different points just due to buffering. But I'm seeing infill. It's looking really good. It's holding temperature really good. I did some PID tuning. I guess I did PID tuning on an older printer, but those settings are still in here. So that seems to have held up nicely to hold the temps. So heat bed staying right at 60, and the hot end is staying within a couple of degrees. It probably needs to be tuned a little bit more. I'm seeing a little bit more fluctuation than I usually like to. So what's interesting, I notice anytime you get to watch a live stream of a print, you see it too close, it looks a lot different than it does in person. Because obviously you're seeing it larger than life. Let's see. My guess is there's going to be a little bit of over extrusion because I haven't tuned the extruder at all. But it is sticking to the bed, and it's not missing any extrusion. Retraction seemed to be doing well. I am not seeing any... okay, that last one, of course, I said something. There's a little bit of stringing on that last one. But again, there's been no tuning of the retraction settings or on the extruder. Thanks for the suggestion on the model. This is actually a model I've never printed. I've seen a lot of people do it, but I have not. Yeah, thanks again. This was kind of a risk I knew I was taking, never having done a print on it, but it's a lot more fun to do this live than it is to sit here by myself and celebrate. Let's see how we are going to do time-wise. I know it's not going to finish unless, of course, I really want to push this print and see if it can go faster. I could always turn up the speed on the controller. I don't know exactly what that would do. But we could get it under 40 minutes, right? 2 hours to 40 minutes. That would be quite a bit. Although it is telling me it has bad accuracy right now. What did the slicer say? Actually, the slicer said it would only take an hour. So maybe the slicer is probably more correct at this point than Octoprint is. I am impressed with the torque of these dual motors. These are slightly oversized steppers that I've got on the back. Notice you can get basically 3 sizes of NEMA 17s that I was able to find, at least readily. There's, not counting the pancake, that would be 4. So you can get pancake steppers in standard size. And then these are 1 size up. I'd have to go look at the specs. I could do that. And then there's a Giants NEMA 17. I have one of those because I was playing with it for the ball screw. Let me see what I can find real quick. Let me look at my Amazon history. So if I'm not mistaken, these are the 59 Newton centimeter steppers. They run at 2 amps, and these I purchased from Stepper online on Amazon. Let me see, I can actually provide a product link in the YouTube description, in case anyone's wondering about that. In fact, I might just go ahead and do that for people in the chat. And sometimes I forget I'm not on Linux and I can't copy and paste the same way that I'm used to. So here is the steppers that I was using. These are the steppers on the Y only. The X is a standard stepper, as well as the extruder. When you're adjusting your extrusion, are you retraction to try to get how you judge how much you up and down? So my extrusion settings are based upon my experience with the E3D V6. And so there's some stock settings that I just used in the past that work for long Bowden tubes. I have my retraction set to 3.2 millimeter retraction distance and 50 millimeter per second speed. Again, that's just based upon experience with the V6 and long tubes. Hi Calvin, thanks for joining us. thoughts on the Hypercube? I'm waiting on parts. You know what? All I hear is good things about the Hypercube, and I know a lot of people build them, so they must be decent printers. I haven't heard anyone complain about building a Hypercube. Obviously, plenty of people have told me that I should have built a Hypercube instead of building a moving bed like this one. But I wanted to do something different. I mean, it really kind of comes down to that. My whole idea behind this was the fact that this is what I was familiar with, was this style of printer, and I learned by doing and by messing with, and so that's why I went with this style. So I just noticed there has been a layer shift on the Y, so that probably means I need to turn up my current on the Y axis. I'm not going to stop the print, I'm just going to let it go. Oh, the layer shifted again. Now it's going off the back side. So this is something that you really couldn't see without filament in there. I'm still going to let it go. We'll just see what it turns out. I'm going to have to increase the... I'm going to have to either decrease the acceleration or travel speed for the Y-axis, or I can try increasing the voltage on the Y-axis. I'm just going to let it run. So while you guys are watching this, I'm going to do something a little bit dangerous. I'm actually going to check the voltage while it's running, because I'm curious, and if you don't do it while it's running, then you're not really going to know what it's running at. So the voltage on my Y-axis is 1.68, but keep in mind that is being split, so it's not 1.6 going to one motor. Let me see what I can do. Yeah, I don't think I have any belt tension issues. Well, I say that, but now that it's running, I can tighten it up a little bit. I do have tensioners on here. And also, I'm going to turn up the current a little bit. Gotta find the right size Phillips screwdriver because it's small. Or excuse me, flathead screwdriver. This is on the 2208. Okay, turned it up a little bit. Oh, less tight. Okay, well, that's a good point, but I can squeeze these a little bit, and they're really long belts, so I really don't think less tight's going to help this time. Let's see what I've turned up the steppers to. They're now running at almost 1.9. So let's see if that makes it any better. Oh man, we're way outside now. Keep in mind that this is why my original design was ball screws. The backup plan was the belts, not the primary plan. Yeah, I can hear it skipping. It's just jerking too fast when it travels. So I think I'm about to stop this. No reason to let it go if I actually need to change the slicer settings on this printer. But I'm pretty sure that's where it's going wrong, is when it travels. So let's see. Let's go ahead back into Octoprint. we are going to cancel this, as at this point no problem with the print speeds. It's when it travels that it's really having problems going too fast with that print bed. Alright, so we're going to cancel for now. I'm going to go into my slicer settings. Let's go ahead and zoom back out here. Right, so I am not disappointed in that first print at all. The fact that it made it that far without having problems the first time I've run it, actually it's a success in my book. But so let's so back to the slicer. I'm going to change the travel speed. I don't know, I'm going to be more conservative this time and we'll work our way up. We'll do 100 there. Take the acceleration down to 800. Jerk down to 8. I'm going to leave the print speed at 80. I don't think there were any problems unless it was on that inner wall when it was actually doing the infill or something. We can go down to 60 to be safe. Even if we don't finish the print, we could see if it can... Okay, that actually didn't add much time to the print. So we're gonna print with Octoprint again. One kind of slow. It could be because I'm on this Wi-Fi streaming this web stream as well. But I just realized something. I do not want to do that G29 again. So let's see, it's here, manage printers, machine settings. I'm going to comment out the G29. I'm going to uncomment the M420S, which turns on the previous bed leveling settings. Everything else is good. All right, close that, prepare it again. Thanks, Calvin, I appreciate that. And I print with the Octoprint again. And while it does that, I'm going to try to remove this guy off the print bed. Alright, that was saved. Transition back over to the wide shot. Okay. Let's see if we can get this guy off without touching the bed, because I don't want to contaminate the print surface with my fingers. There we go. Wait. That is what a clean glass bed will leave you. I don't know if you can see that since I'm not tight on this anymore. But his feet have left an impression. Now that'll clean off when this bed cools. It'll clean off without any problems. And honestly, if I leave some of it there, it will probably help the next attempt to... Hi there. Infill looked pretty good. It was definitely over extruding by quite a bit. Now that I'm seeing that, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn down the extrusion because that's way too much. I'm not even worried about it. So let me see the flow rate. Currently on 100%. I'm going to turn it down to 95% on the flow, since I'm not going to take the time right now to calibrate. Everybody still in the chat? Someone say hi. Let me know you're still there. Let me know I'm still streaming. Let's print that with Octoprint. I keep saying Octoprint. Octoprint. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. And this takes a minute to send to Octoprint. I think I'm using up all my Wi-Fi here doing this live stream. Okay, that's saved. Let's go back over to my Octoprint. Set up preheat again. Hopefully it didn't cool down too much. The hot end cooled down, but I'm not too worried about that. Hi, Calvin. But the bed didn't cool down hardly at all. It takes quite a while for that bed to cool down. So we'll give it another couple minutes, and we will give it another go because we've got time still. I currently own, this will be my third printer. My son and I built my first printer together. It was an ANET A8. Switched out all the electronics on it though, but it's still the same frame. Still most of the mechanical parts are the same. And then I've got the Ender 5, which I've talked about a lot on my channel. And has been actually, you know, really good because a lot of people are buying those. They seem to be selling them faster than they can make them because most of the time I hear about how they don't have enough. And this will be number 3. And again, the idea here is to print helmets, large chest pieces, weapons, all for cosplay on this one. So that was the idea behind this one. Yeah, I wouldn't have room for 6. I would have to find new lab space. I'm currently in my dining room as it is, working on the dining room table, so definitely wouldn't have room for more than I have. I currently don't have room for this guy, so I'm actually going to build a special table, I think, for this one, using some aluminum extrusions. Probably put some casters on it. Let's see how we're doing. So we are just about up to temp. I think I'm actually going to go ahead and push print, and it will start as soon as it's ready. All right. So bed is heating. As soon as it's ready to go, it will begin. Let's see here. I'll give you a close-up of the first print. Some of it I'm real happy with. It was only until it got up there high enough that it actually started messing up. I don't know how much you'll be able to see this. This little webcam I have doesn't take the best shots, but I'm going to show you anyway. So first layer looks beautiful. Went down really good. Nice shiny finish. The lines are really nice. As you can see probably here, definitely over extrusion. You can see that it's a really bumpy finish. And then you can't see much about the infill. I'm actually going to pull that off because I did such a poor job. But anyway, there we go. There's the first guy. I'll save his feet. So transition back as it prints. Almost up to temp. I'm going to grab the filament off the hot end one more time. Well, you know what? I could check on the temperature of these stepper drivers, and we'll keep an eye on them, make sure they don't overheat. As of right now, they're all about the same temperature. They're under 40. The 2208 is the hottest at about 38 C. And we're going to do this again. Let's see. I don't see any filament coming out. I don't know if that means it's too close or what. Probably means it's too close. Or it's not extruding. What is going on? The extruder is not extruding. I don't know what it's doing. That's really weird. Especially for something that works so well the first time. It's just sitting here going back and forth. And that is on a completely different extruder. What is going on? That's really bizarre. It's just sitting here puttering. It's like going back and forth, like it does not know what it's doing. It's just going back and forth. What could be the problem? The motor is not too hot. Huh. Let's see. So those are just the... I do not know what it's doing. Let's check the voltage maybe. These are the A4988s. What is going on? And this one's the extruder. It's running at one volt. It should be fine. This is weird. Why would the extruder just not be able to extrude? I didn't change any of the extruder settings that I can think of. Thanks, Calvin. Thanks for joining us. This one's weird. I'm actually listening at the motors right now to see if I can tell anything that's going on. So I'm also confused as to why the let me think. Thanks everyone, thanks for coming by. Let me see. What could be happening? I'm not getting any errors from Marlin. It is very confused though. This stepper is not running right anymore. And the Y is also messing up way worse than it did the first time. There's no excuse for that. A little confused. Why would it print worse the second time? Let's see. Thanks BB3D. Thanks for coming by. Yeah, this is the second print. The first print went better. So if you're just dropping in, first print was actually going pretty good. I had a little bit of Y motion that didn't go well, and so I made some changes in my slicer, and now the extruder is not working correctly. Do you think I've... No, I don't think I have broken, because the filament's not having any problems. I can move it freely. If I push it out, it extrudes. And you can see right here, if I do the extruding, the actual motor is just not doing what it did the first print. It's just jerking all over the place for some reason. This is one of those strange situations where it's maybe a when in doubt, reboot and see what it does. I'm not a reboot kind of guy usually on this firmware, but I'm actually very confused as to why the stepper now is acting crazy. But there's no point in this to continue going. Yeah, I don't know what it is. This one is going to the right place. Let's see. I'll cancel it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Let's see. Tighten these belts a little bit. And these won't have any problems coming off because there's not that much filament that came out. I'm going to check my voltages and see if I see anything appears off. So I don't need to check the X. I don't have any problems there. The Y is back at 1.6, which is where I turned it to, just to see if that was a problem. One of the Z motors is at 1.0. The extruder is at 1.0. And the other Z motor is at 1.0. So there should be no problems running any of those steppers at 1.0 volts. So as I mentioned, I think I'm going to quickly make sure none of my wiring is loose. Nothing should have moved there. Let's see if I go into the Marlin manual controls, if I can move the extruder. It's probably not going to let me unless I heat it up, because there's a Marlin safety feature. Yeah, that's what it is. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to make sure I save my firmware settings. Going into control, store the settings, and then I'm going to reboot it. I got a reboot button on my control panel. Okay. Now I'm actually going to go and do a preheat, and we'll get the hot end back up and see if I can get it to manually extrude now that I've done a reset. Again, everybody sticking with me, I appreciate it. I know I've only got about 10 minutes scheduled here. I'll see if I can get it going again. If not, I will continue to work on it offline. I got a first test print. I got bed leveling working. I got extrusion working, at least on the initial print. All the motion works. So I think for a first try with a printer this size, I'm pretty happy with it. Need to figure out why here on the second print everything has gone haywire. There's nothing, no loose wires here on my stepper. Okay, the hot end is back up to temperature. I'm going to play with the motion here real quick. Let's raise the Z up a bit. Alright. No problem on the Z axis. We'll play with the Y axis. No problem on the Y-axis. Can't imagine the X. We haven't had any X problems so far. Okay. And now let's do the extruder. So the extruder motor is completely not working anymore. It's acting like it's wired incorrectly. I've seen extruders where you've wired them wrong and they just kind of twitch. They go back and forth like because the stepper isn't initialized in order properly. So my guess is I either have a bad wire or possibly the stepper driver's gone bad. Either one of those are possible. So, because of that, I'm going to, let's see here. I don't want to forget that you guys are watching what I'm doing here. So we can show what's going on. Alright, this camera's going to move around a little bit, but alright, so here's what I'm doing. Again, my theory here is either a bad stepper driver or a bad wire. And I'm not going to play with either of them while it's turned on. So I'm going to cut the power to the printer. Let's take a look at the wire. Imagine what could have gone on with the wire. But I'll take a look. Again, when you haven't burned some, yep, there it is. That is what's wrong. I have a bad wire. And I apparently tweaked it just right while I was moving in and out. And that wire has come loose. Question is, do I have another one? And I don't know if I know the answer. But let me see. But hey, there we go. That's what gets burnt in at the factory. Stuff like that, hopefully. Give me a second. Let me see if I have another wire. I'm still here. I am actually don't know where an extra wire is, but I do have an extra printer, so I know this wire is good. And so I'm going to pull a extra wire off of this printer, and we're going to use it. I'm going to make sure the pinouts are the same, otherwise I'm going to have a problem real quick. As you can see, oh man, it's going to be fun to try to figure out. So this is the filament runout sensor. It's going to the Raspberry Pi. I guess you can see that. That's that other wire. Let's see if these are going to match up at all. I have to check both ends of the wire. So this end is wired backwards, color-wise. So let's see if the other end is wired backwards, color-wise. Not exactly. One thing I've learned about steppers is they definitely don't all share. Hey, thanks, Robert. Thanks for dropping by. I appreciate you coming in. Have a good night. So, let's see. So what I'm doing is I'm checking the, I know you're not going to see much of this, but I want to make sure you're getting something on the screen. I check one end of the wire, and those are perfectly backwards. Let's see, black's in the right place, green's in the right place. The blue and the red are the only ones that would have to switch. So let's see, can I switch the blue and the red? Not going to be able to show you all what I'm doing here because I need a table, and it doesn't translate well. The blue and the red. And sorry if the appreciate everyone hanging out that is still on the live stream, and I'm sorry for the more boring parts of live engineering. Let me see. I was trying to end the stream on a high note of actually printing something, so I'm going to try real quick to do that. Yeah, switch the blue and the red, and hopefully this matches up. Get it started again. Let's see. Yeah, those are backwards matchy and the other ones are. So we're going to try one more time. Let's hook this back up. You can't see me. I'm hooking up the stepper, and I'm hooking up the stepper driver, and let's power back up. No, I'm not worried. I just want to make sure that if I'm going over time here, it's worthwhile for people that are sticking around. I knew what I was getting into when I did this. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with how how it's doing so far. Yeah, I'm going to switch back over to Yocto print here. Yeah, definitely. Don't let out any magical smoke. Hey, nothing's shorting out yet. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see if Octoprint is back. And it is. And I will load up my Marvin again. I'll begin the preheat process, because it's not going to let me even attempt to extrude if the extruder is not up to temp. Again, leaving the camera where it is for now until we see if this works. And if I get it working, we will call that a night. And I'll see if I can keep the recording going, and I can post the recording of whether it finished or not. Or if you follow me on Twitter, I will post what the results are of this last print if it gets going. All right, we're at 160. All right, we should be hot enough now. We're up above 190. Let's see if that was the only problem, and if this new wire actually fixes the problem. Otherwise, that's going to be it. So move axis, extruder, move. Hey, that's a good sound. Hey, there we go. Right, proper engineering. That's what the live stream's for. Nothing else. It's to let me know that I actually know what I'm talking about. All right. So, with that behind us, and with me needing to recrimp that wire so that I get my ANET back up and running. Hey, JD. Good to see you. Should definitely go back and watch the rest of the stream so you see what you've missed. We've had one reasonably successful print, meaning it printed and then we had some layer shifts, and I slowed some things down to stop the layer shifts, and then we had a wire break on us. There's your recap. And we are going to start this again now. I'm going to go ahead and press print. And we're going to, just because we're already over time, I'm not going to do any extra leveling or resetting up. I'm just going to go for it. I think that was the only problem with the redo. Still wish I had a little bit more light down there on that bed. I'll have to remember that next time. Let me see. Once it gets going here. And we are at 68.2 on the bed. We're already at 210 on the hot end. So it should begin here any minute. So JD, since I'm about talked out, can you tell me how your CR10's been doing? What problems have you been having with it? What repairs have you needed to do? CR10 is a go-to printer for so many people. Let's see. I actually want to see what's going on here, so let me make sure you're going to see it when it starts. Alright, this is the BL Touch doing the leveling. There we go. I'll zoom in as far as this will allow me. Man, this is going better this time. Let's see, it's looking good. Again, for the second print, I have decreased the flow rate because we were way over extruding, and I have slowed everything down quite a bit, trying to avoid layer shifts on this print. I had thought about doing simply a vase mode print because I thought it would decrease the chance of that happening, plus it'd be a smaller print, a faster print, but I didn't really think it would, you know, stress it out that much, and I really wanted to sort of start dialing in these settings. MOSFET, was it a MOSFET that came with the printer, or was it a MOSFET you had added? Again, if you're missing the chat for some reason, JD just joined us. He said he's having problems with the CR10 again. He had a MOSFET burned out. Again, I'm sorry for the lack of light. This room's got like 6 bulbs in it, and you get near that print bed and it's not bright enough. He's having problems with his misfits. Does he have misfits that run his printer? Hey BB3D, I appreciate the follow today, and anyone else that's new on the channel that just became a subscriber today, I appreciate it. I'm going to be showing a lot more of this printer hopefully once it gets going. I'm ready to start printing some larger objects. I've got Alita's sword. If you've seen the new movie Alita, Battle Angel, I've got the sword model from that. I think that may be the first cosplay model I print that really tries to print the entire bed size. Got 2 different models. I've got one that's on Thingiverse, and I've got one from a someone I just recently ran across on Twitter, and I'll be sharing all of his information as soon as I decide which one I'm printing. Alright, here we go. First layer, beautiful on this one. Decreasing that that flow rate was a huge help in terms of the quality that's coming out right now. I don't know if you're seeing it as well as I am. I don't think you are, and I want to fix that. So, excuse the camera movement here. I'm going to get a better angle, and you can see what's going on. But this requires me moving the primary camera. And I plan on doing the zooming, but I hadn't planned on having to move the entire camera. Let's see if I can get it to sit where I want it to. And then, there we go. So if I move it here, I can't see as much. Can't win, it seems. Alright, now I'm going to work it out one way or the other. I'll let you guys get a good look at the quality that I'm getting here at this point. Yeah, I am still messing with the camera, so excuse the jitteriness. Trying to get you really close with this camera, which is on a tripod. And so I'm having to do a lot of manipulation to get it at the right height. Here we go. I think this will work. There we go. That's getting better. Hopefully you can see that alright. That's as good as I'm going to be able to get. Maybe it's not as dark on your screen as it is on mine. Alright, this is looking good. I'm moving on to infill now. Fans are all running. Alright, so second print. So far slightly more successful than the first because we dialed in a couple of settings. I'll let it get about, I don't know, a dozen more layers up, and we will see if we've got any layer shifts. Again, I appreciate everyone that's stuck around. Thanks for spending your evening watching this and sharing this first print. Brian, I see that you have about 100 subscribers more than I do, so congratulations. I hope the YouTube experience has been good to you so far. I think you're in good company, Brian, if you're on this stream. I think that's what everybody showed up to do, was to hopefully watch this thing print. I'm still worried that the travel speed for a print bed this big may be a little bit much, at least with the belts. I'm hoping again that when I switch to the ball screw that I worry less about skipping the steps. No, you've been doing it longer than me, Brian. I've been at it, I guess, real solid for, I guess, just now 3 months or so, maybe 4. And I'm nowhere near 50 episodes. Sure, I'll be happy to do a wrap-up video where maybe I'll edit some of this together and do a video, just sort of a wrap-up at the end. So, let's see. What am I seeing up close? Well, it's hard to say at this point. I would say probably still a little bit of over extrusion. Again, I will spend some time after this calibrating some things. I'll probably go ahead and print me a 20 by 20 by 20 cube to calibrate the X, Y, and Z, calibrate the extruder. And then we'll see if we're going to have any layer shifts on this. Yep, Brian, I approved your request. No problem at all. You show up for my live stream, you can pimp your channel. No problem at all. As long as it's related. And I'm going to try to let it get to the point where it was doing the part between his legs, because that's where it started skipping last time. If we can get further than we did on the first print, that would be great. Hey Chris, good to see you. Yeah, that's right. This is a 600 by 400 bed. A little bit bigger than that. It's actually 628 by 428 is the bed size. I currently have it set to print at about 550 on the X, just due to the plastic getting in the way in some places. And it is Bowden currently. Is it Bowden? Bowden? I don't know how people pronounce it. I like Bowden. But anyway, it is a Bowden currently. As long as this Capricorn tubing does well for me, I don't know if I'll change it. But there's still the idea someone was mentioning earlier, switching it to direct drive. And given the fact I've got linear rails on the X like it, I don't think there'd be a weight problem. And so far, I mean, if you're noticing if you're seeing what I'm seeing, there's no stringing between the legs. So, you know, I can't complain too much. Now, flexible filament may be a problem. Particularly if it was too flexible, because of the distance it would be traveling, that'd be a lot of compression. I don't necessarily see me use this printer for a lot of flexibles. Maybe some stiff flexibles, like for cosplay. You know, for some less dangerous cosplay, or some more flexible armor. But I don't see me doing anything, you know, super flexible on a printer this size. Got a little something there. So I don't have the fans turned all the way up just for noise considerations. So I may have dropped that due to the fans not being turned all the way up. I don't know. It's weird that it decided to drop that one line of filament. And it's kind of really jerking around here, so I'm curious if it's going to skip a step again and have a layer shift. So far so good, but I don't want to jinx it too much. Again, I don't know what happened there. I will have to go back and watch how it dropped that one string. It's kind of odd. So it could be due to cooling, possibly, but I do have the fans up to 80%. So, I mean, there shouldn't be a cooling problem going at 80% on the fans. It does have dual fans on it. Yeah, this is a Marvin. This was Robert, who was in the chat earlier. It was his suggestion. He's the first one that threw out something as an option. So here's what I'm going to do. I have to go tuck in my kids. I do not have Z-Hop on. I did that on purpose. I didn't want it to increase the stringing at all. Plus, I honestly wanted to see if it would do fine without it. It's just kind of pushing it. So I'm going to go put my kids to bed. I'm going to mute this so that you can keep watching. And if anything horrible happens while I'm gone, you can tell me all about it. Be back in a few minutes. Hey guys, I'm back and watching the Marvin. So far so good it seems. I didn't miss anything catastrophic and everything seems to still be lined up for now. A trash bag fashion lover? Unused plastic garbage bags as cosplay materials. No, but I have used one as a poncho. So that's about it. So, hey Calvin, I see you made it back. Sorry about that. You want me to mute it again so you can finish watching Joel? So depending on how this video turns out in terms of YouTube's quality, I'm also recording it locally. I'll probably do an edit of it and post up the edited version, trying to keep the high points, but not all the dead spots. So if you've missed any parts of it and you'd like to rewatch it later, it should be available. So, there we go. Found the webcam. I'm still here. This webcam works a lot better for actual webcam purposes than it does for close-ups. I have to get me a new camera for that purpose. It's looking good here. No layer shifts yet. You know, back to the original problem. I think the extruder needs some pretty heavy calibration, and so this Marvin's a little fuzzy. That's all right, and yeah, let me see what I can do. I don't mind checking on that. Hold on one second. Is that better? Oh, good. Okay. That should show you way more details. Now you can see what I was talking about, it being fuzzy with the over extrusion. But again, I mentioned that early on. I haven't done any calibration of the extruder. Again, this is truly the first print, and so no extruder calibration, no calibration of the X and Y axis. So I will do those offline and try to get a calibrated print of this guy now that I've got some sort of initial settings ready to go. I guess I could turn down the flow. I hate to mess with it too much. But pretty heavy over extrusion. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to let this guy finish up the way he is. He can be a little fuzzy. No reason to try to fix the flow rate on something that hasn't been calibrated. So according to this, it has 35 minutes left. According to this, it has 35 minutes left. I am going to let it run so that you can keep watching if you choose to. I am going to put it on mute, and I will be back because I don't think I can add anything more to this conversation at this time. I'll leave the chat up on my phone. But if you stick around, I will see you at the end. Thanks, everybody. Alright, so I am unmuted at this point. I'm going to zoom out, try to get Marvin back in view here. Something strange happened at the very top of this print. I'm not sure how it made it all the way through. In a couple of... I'm not going to be able to get this off, so we're going to have to look at him on the bed. It is still hot, and it is not going to let go. So let's take a look at what we have. So, as you can see, there was a strange set of layer shifts right here on the top. I can't imagine what did that. So, again, some dialing in on the voltages, acceleration, jerk, maximum speed still there. First thing I have to do before I play with too much of it is dial in the extruder, because with over extruding that much it could be catching, who knows. Again, this is a fuzzy Martian over extruded, and there's also a small layer shift here. I can confirm that it looks like it shifted just a part of a step right here on this layer. Some overhang issues here and here, probably a combination of over extrusion and the fact that I didn't have the fans up all the way for noise concerns. So, all in all, a successful second print. It's got some dialing in to do, but not ever having printed with this printer, I'm pretty happy with that. So let me switch over here. All right. So I appreciate everyone tuning in, and you guys that came back. I appreciate you tuning back in. Let me bring up my chat window again. There we go. So Brian, thanks for coming back. Don't really know, of course, who's actually still here. If you're still here, say hi. I think we're going to be signing off at this point. I'm obviously way past when I scheduled this for, but it wasn't a big deal to leave it up and running and then to do a sign off here. So if you're interested in this printer, if you want to see more prints, if you want to see how I go about releasing the build of materials, and if you want to see the what happens when I switch to a ball screw instead of the belts, and whether that actually helps the print quality or the lack of layer skipping, thank John, Calvin, Brian for all sticking around. But again, if you're watching this later, thanks for tuning into this video. I will try to release a edited version of the video that is a little bit pared down and speeds up through that long print process. And I will also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will post some of the future prints. I'm sure I'll probably do one more print tonight as I'm head off to bed or whatever, and see what the prints look like. So if you want to watch, please stay tuned on my other social media accounts, and I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks, Pygar, last one, and thanks for being here for I think all of my live streams. So appreciate it, guys, and keep watching on Cozy Fabrications. Thanks.